Hare Krishna. Please accept our respectful obeisances. Hare Krishna to all the devotees. We welcome all of you on YouTube Live and all of our listeners on Facebook Live as well. Welcoming each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your online association. We welcome all of you. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swaminiti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaurakatha Dhamadaya Nagara Gramatarine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachalam pangur langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurung Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Again, we welcome all of our wonderful listeners to this session 22 of Sri Bhagavatamrita. Before we move on to the session 22, we would like to announce the participants of the quiz from yesterday's session. So from YouTube Live, we have participants. Heartfelt congratulations to you. Janeshwar Goranga Prabhu, Geeta Varadarajan Mataji, and Vijayata Arora Mataji. Congratulations to all three of you for participating in the quiz from YouTube. And from Facebook, we have Barshana Chitra Mataji. We have Mridubhashini Mataji. We have Sweta Shurya Narayan Mataji. We have Shyama Supriya Mataji. We have Ranjani Gopika Mataji, Divyangi Lalita, and Prem Vikas Prabhu. And we also have Meena Mataji. So congratulations to all of you for participating in the quiz session from yesterday. So yesterday we heard from Prabhu. The chapter concluded by the transcendental activities of Dhruva Maharaj. You know how text 52 in chapter 12, it concludes by saying that the transcendental activities of Dhruva Maharaj are well known all over the world and they are very, very pure. In childhood, Dhruva Maharaj rejected all kinds of toys and playthings left for the protection of his mother left the protection of his mother and seriously took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. My dear Vidura, I therefore conclude this narration, for I have described to you all its details. So the entire life of Dhruva Maharaj we heard in the last two sessions, which Prabhu described so beautifully. So now we come to chapter 13. Today we will cover from chapter 13 till 18. So chapter 13 is entitled The Description of the Descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. That how did the legacy of Dhruva Maharaj then continue? That is what this chapter is starting by, where Vidura is starting this chapter. He's inquiring from Maitreya Rishi regarding the Prachetas. You know, the Prachetas were briefly mentioned in chapter 12. In the previous chapter, they were very briefly mentioned. So Vidura is starting this particular chapter from text 2. He is inquiring from Maitreya Rishi saying, who are the Prachetas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were there, and where did they perform the great sacrifices? And Maitreya Rishi started responding. He said that, my dear Vidura, when Maharaj Dhruva, when he departed for the forest, Dhruva Maharaj's son, one of his sons, Utkala was one of the sons of Dhruva Maharaj. He was a very different personality, very special soul. He did not desire to accept the opulent throne of his father. He had no interest in the kingdom. He had no desire to be the king. And he did not just want to be a ruler. From his very birth, Utkala was fully satisfied and he was unattached to this material world. He was very equipoised, for he could see everything in connection to the super soul and the super soul that was present in everyone's heart. So, he appeared to be, externally speaking, Srila Prabhupada translates in one of the verses in this chapter, he says that he appeared to be like a madman. Because he was always to himself, he was always very absorbed in his own little, bhajan kutir of his own heart. He was very, very less interactive with everybody else. He was always very deeply connected in his consciousness to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for this reason, all the ministers and all the elderly members of the family, they thought that Utkala is not really properly qualified in this sense because he's so disinterested, not because of any other qualification, because of his disinterest in seeing to the well-being of the kingdom. They said that Utkala is not fit to be the king. So the younger brother of Utkala, whose name was Vatsara, he was made the king and he became the king of the world. Now, after this comes a very, very long chain of descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. So please pay attention. So this Vatsara, who is this younger son of Dhruva Maharaj, Vatsara had 6 sons. Out of these 6 sons, Pushparna was one of the sons, and he in turn had 6 more sons. Out of these 6 sons of Pushparna, there was Sarvateja. Sarvateja, he had a son named Chakshusha. This Chakshusha became the 6th Manu, who is known as the Chakshusha Manu. And Chakshusha Manu had 12 sons. And out of the 12 sons, Ulmukha had 6 sons. Okay, out of the 12, Ulmukha was one of them, and Ulmukha had 6 sons in return. And then all of these sons of Ulmukha, all of the 6 sons of Ulmukha were very, very good sons, very pious sons. And one of these 6 sons of Ulmukha was Maharaj Anga. And Maharaj Anga, he had a son named Vena. He was the only son named Vena. He was very crooked and very bad in his behavior, and being disappointed in such a son, to have such a king as Maharaj Vena, King Anga actually left home and the kingdom and he went to the forest, it is explained. So we can see how till the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, they came down to King Vena, being the final one that we are now going to talk about. Texts 19 and 20, it is saying, Maitreya Rishi is telling to Vidura, he's saying that when the great sages curse, their words are as invincible as a thunderbolt. Thus, when they cursed Vena out of anger, he died. After his death, since there was no king, all the rogues and thieves flourished, the kingdom became unregulated, and all the citizens suffered greatly. On seeing this, the great sages took the right hand of the king Vena as a churning rod, and as a result of their churning, Lord Vishnu, in his partial representation, made his advent as King Prithu, the original emperor of the world. Now, in this text 19 and 20, the summary of the next chapter is already given. That is the beauty of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That a prelude, just like before showing the movie, we give a brief trailer just to keep us attracted. Oh, what's happening? You know, we really need to go and see this movie. That's the purpose of the trailer. So here's our trailer. How, Maitreya Rishi is so beautifully explaining that what happened to King Vena, what really made the sages curse Vena. All of our minds are getting inquisitive to know this history. What is the story behind Vena? Why did he come as the son, as a descendant of such a great personality as Dhruva Maharaj? Such a sinful person, how could he become the descendant of Dhruva Maharaj's dynasty? And then what really happened that the Brahmanas had to curse and kill this King Vena? And then from his churning of his arm, another personality, the Supreme Personality, was appeared? How is it ever possible? Such inquisitiveness will be answered very shortly. So in the text 21 of this chapter, Vidura inquires from Maitreya Rishi that King Anga was so pious and he was so righteous, then how did he have a son like Vena? Very logical question. It's coming to all of our minds that before King Vena was born of Anga, the previous descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, all of them were very pious souls. Even there was Chakshusha Manu, one of the sixth, one of the 14 Manus, the sixth Manu was Chakshusha Manu from the dynasty of Dhruva Maharaj. And in such a glorious dynasty, how could a impious soul like Vena come there? This is a very valid question, which Maitreya Rishi responded very, very beautifully. He said that King Anga, he actually did not have a son for a very, very long time. From his wife Sunita. Sunita, it is mentioned that she is the daughter of death personified. So death personified, she was his daughter. It doesn't specify whether it was Yamaraj, but we can conclude that it is definitely Yamaraj's daughter. One of his daughters is Sunita. So he was advised, because he did not have any sons, the Brahmanas, the sages, they advised King Anga to perform a fire sacrifice and pray to Lord Vishnu to give him the benediction of a son. At the end of the sacrifice, a brilliantly effulgent person came out of the sacrifice holding a bowl of sweet rice in his hand. And he gave that to the king, and the king gave it to his wife, Sunita. Now, Sunita, because of her family lineage, from her father's side, was not so pious. They were not so inclined towards God consciousness. It is mentioned here in this chapter. It is because of the influence of the bad qualities that are there in her family, and thus it resulted in her also. Therefore, she gave birth to a son named Vena. And the boy grew to be highly irreligious, very, very obnoxious child. And, the boy, his cruelty was to such an extent that he would go to the forest and unnecessarily kill innocent animals. And whenever people would see him coming, they would go like, oh, here comes the cruel Vena, here comes the cruel Vena. They would run. And the boy was so cruel. This little boy, when he was growing up, he was so cruel. When he would play with young boys of his own age, he would kill them mercilessly, as if they were animals who were meant for slaughter. He was very, very obnoxious kind of a child. So after seeing this cruel and merciless behavior of his son, Vena, the king Anga, he punished him in different ways and tried to reform him. But he was unable to bring Vena, he was a little boy at that time, to the path of gentleness. So he was very disturbed. The king Anga became very, very disturbed. So the king, he thought to himself that persons who, text 43 of this chapter, it's saying that the king was thinking to himself, King Anga, he said, that persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. And the king continued to think that a bad son is better than a good son, because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. And the purport to this verse, text 46, this is text 46 that I just quoted. The purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada actually very beautifully glorifies King Anga as a very beautiful Vaishnava. That a Vaishnava, he sees every situation to be a benediction from the Lord. He always thinks favorably at every situation, never thinks negatively. Anga never, he could have thought that I belong to this great dynasty of my great, great, great grandfather's Dhruva Maharaj. And I performed the fire sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. And he gave me this kind of a son. My dear Lord Vishnu, what did I do to deserve this kind of a son? He never questioned. Anga never questioned the Lord. He never saw that situation to be negatively affecting him. That is the glory of a devotee. That they see good in every situation. Every situation, they see it favorably. How they can surrender, using that opportunity, how they can surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is how a devotee always sees. He was extremely grateful that because of this situation, that because I have a bad son, I am not getting attached to my household activities. I am not getting attached to my home. Krishna, you're so kind that you are motivating me to give up my family and go to the forest. This was the consciousness of Anga. He was grateful to the Lord. Because he had faith in the Lord, that the Lord will never do anything which is bad for me. That was the faith that King Anga had. That I am a devotee of the Lord, and whatever Krishna does is the best for me. That was the faith that King Anga had. And that is how we should try to follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Anga. Try to imbibe this mood of Maharaj Anga. Trying to see every situation so that how we can use it favorably in the service of Krishna. Not getting, discouraged. Not ever doubting the Lord that Krishna, what did you do to me? What did I deserve that I'm getting this kind of actions from you? This kind of repercussions from you? What do I do? Never doubting the Lord. So this is such a beautiful lesson that we learn from the life of Maharaj Anga. So Maharaj Anga, he actually took this opportunity and he actually just left home. And all the citizens, the priests, the ministers, the friends, and people in general, they were very greatly aggrieved when Maharaj Anga just left in the middle of the night. He had left his palace, his kingdom, and he just went to the forest. And they began to search for him everywhere. Everyone searched for Maharaj Anga, but they could not find him. And thus they returned back to the kingdom. And this concludes chapter 13. And now we come to chapter 14, which is the story of King Vena. The story of King Vena, Maitreya Rishi continued that the sages, when King Anga left the kingdom like this, the sages headed by Bhrigu, they were always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. And when they saw that in the absence of King Anga, there was no one to protect the citizens, that they had to coronate King Vena, Anga's son, as the next king. So they just coronated King Vena. But when he got the kingdom, when King Vena got the position of his father's kingdom, when he became the king, he was so much blinded due to the opulences that he was blinded by pride, he was blinded by arrogance, by irreligiousness, that he actually went traveling throughout the kingdom, and he would, everywhere it would tremble. Everyone would tremble in fear. And all the twice born brahmanas, there was a declaration that was made by Vena in the entire kingdom that no brahmanas can perform any sacrifices. No one will worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in order to, the sages all got together and they said that, in order for the citizens to be happy, we have to do something. So the brahmanas, they got together and they came and approached King Vena and they tried to give him good counsel. And they said that, my dear king, we have come to give you good advice. Please hear us so that your opulence, your strength, and your reputation will increase. That, you should stop. Text 16 is a very, very important verse. Very important verse in this chapter, text 16. The sages told King Vena that, my dear king, you should not be doing what you are doing such atrocious work with your citizens. You should not be the cause of spoiling the spiritual life of the general populace, of the people in general. If the spiritual life is spoiled because of your activities, you will certainly fall down from your opulent and royal position. The sages predicted that you are stopping the people from rendering service to the Supreme Lord. Don't do this. Anyone who is stopping anyone from doing any kind of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the greatest kind of offender, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. Now, we should be so careful that we should actually try to be instruments of the Lord to enhance the devotional activities, devotional services of the people in general, not stop them. If we are stopping the devotional practices of anyone, then there will be danger. We are in a danger of falling down from our position. So the sages said that you will not get happiness in this world, nor after death. You will be ruined. So then King Vena said, I will not listen to all of you. Whatever you are saying, you are talking because you don't know what my position is. I am your king. I am as good as God. So therefore, you better surrender to me. If you don't surrender to me, you're gone. So then the great sages, they could not tolerate this arrogance of King Vena, and they just said, kill him, kill him. And, text 31 says that the King Vena, because of his offense to the kingdom, the people of the kingdom, offense to the Supreme Lord, the people of the kingdom offense is that he was stopping them from performing spiritual practices. He was offending the Supreme Lord. himself and offending the devotees of the Supreme Lord. So the Brahmanas actually declared him to be dead already. And by the way of their speaking, just kill him, kill him. The words of the Brahmanas are so powerful that he died on the spot. King Vena died on the spot. So when he died, what happened to Sunita, what Sunita did is that she became very much aggrieved because her son died. So she decided to preserve the dead body of her son by the application of certain ingredients and by chanting certain mantras. Srila Prabhupada, this verse comes in text 35. This is text 35, where Sunita, his mother, actually preserved the body. So this act of preserving the dead, which the Egyptians mastered, it is actually there in the Shastra, in the Vedic scriptures. We find that how the dead were preserved. Sunita very successfully preserved her dead son's body by the application of certain ingredients and by chanting certain mantras. And then it is explained, the chapter explains that after some time, some of the sages, they began to talk amongst themselves that since the king is dead, this King Vena is dead, and there is no protector in this world, misfortune may come to the people in general. So, text 43, the sages say that after making a decision, the sages actually concluded that they need to preserve the dynasty of King Vena. You see, King Vena, he died without having a son. So who would carry on the legacy of Dhruva Maharaj? His dynasty. So the sages got thinking. So then what they did is that the sages, they churned the thighs of the dead body of King Vena with great force and according to a specific method. And as a result of this churning, a dwarf-like person was born from King Vena's body. This is text 43. And the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives very, very beautiful explanation. It can be because sometimes very bewildering that from a dead body, how can another person be born? It's not possible. But Srila Prabhupada explains that because the soul had already left the body of King Vena and the soul had transmigrated and taken birth somewhere else. That is, King Vena's soul had already traveled out. But because his body was preserved, there was semen in his body. So when the sages, by the process that they had churned out, they churned out, from his body, they churned out a personality through this semen of his. So that's how, there was a small dwarf-like person who was named as Bahuka. He was born, and this chapter concludes by this verse that Bahuka was born from the thighs of King Vena. Chapter 15, we come to the chapter being entitled King Prithu's Appearance and His Coronation. So the great sage Maitreya continued that, my dear Vidura, thus the Brahmanas and the great sages again churned the two arms of King Vena. The dead body of the two arms of King Vena, they churned, and as a result, a male and a female came out of his arms. So a couple actually came out from his arms. Text 2 is saying the great sages were highly learned in Vedic knowledge. When they saw the male and female born out of the body of the arms of Vena's dead body, they were very pleased, for they could understand that the couple was an expansion of the plenary portion of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The male is a plenary expansion of Lord Vishnu, and the female is a plenary expansion of the goddess of fortune, who is never separated from her Lord. So, text 4 is saying that the Brahmanas then named the male child, they named him as Prithu. And he was the first amongst the kings. Maharaj Prithu is known as the greatest saintly king of the entire world. We will understand why. Why was Maharaj Prithu? There was also King Anga. Everyone was called as the king. But why is Maharaj Prithu called as the king? Why? We will come to know of that in a little while. And the female was called as Archi, and she became the consort or the queen of Maharaj Prithu. So, in the form of Maharaj Prithu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself had appeared, as his own potency to protect the people of the world. And of course, Archi became his wife, and all the devatas. It is said that all the devatas actually descended to have darshan of Maharaj Prithu and his beloved consort Queen Archi. And it is explained that the learned brahmanas then arranged for the coronation of the king, of King Prithu. And, different devatas gave different kinds of gifts to King Prithu. It is explained that Kuvera presented King Prithu with a golden throne. Varuna gave him an umbrella, which would always keep spraying, fine scented water. Nice to have such an umbrella. Dharma presented him with a flower garland which would expand his fame. Indra presented him with a valuable helmet. Yamaraja presented him with a scepter with which he would rule the world. Lord Brahma presented Prithu with a protective garment made out of spiritual knowledge. And Saraswati Devi, who is the wife of Lord Brahma, gave him a transcendental necklace. Lord Vishnu presented Maharaj Prithu with Sudarshan disc. So in this way, so many personalities gave Maharaj Prithu different gifts as because he was coronated as the king. And then Maharaj Prithu, and while they were presenting the gifts, all the devatas, including Lord Vishnu himself, was also glorifying Prithu Maharaj and his transcendental qualities. So with great humility, Prithu Maharaj said that in text 25 of this chapter, very important to us, text 25, with great humility, Prithu Maharaj said that as a person with a sense of honor and magnanimity does not like to hear about his abominable actions, a person who is very famous and powerful does not like to hear himself being praised. So we should understand that in the material world, we all love to be praised. We all love to hear each other's glories, especially our own glories. If someone is saying something good about us, we are in not only in the 14th sky, but maybe in the 21st sky. It makes us so happy when someone is glorifying us. I remember Srila Radhanath Swami Guru Maharaj, he gave a very beautiful analogy. He said, when a small child, comes crying to its parents saying that, oh, look, my friends, they said something nasty to me. And then the parents, they console the child by, they say that, don't worry, your friend doesn't mean it. Don't take it seriously. It's okay. They don't mean it. Similarly, when we become all puffed up, when someone as a devotee, we as devotees, when someone glorifies us, we become very proud, we become very puffed up. And in that pride, we come to our spiritual master, we come in front of our gurus. And our gurus will just take one needle and he'll just puncture the balloon of pride that is there in us by saying this statement that don't take that praise seriously. Don't take it seriously. They don't mean it. So that's how devotees actually should take praise. If their devotees are praised, the culture is that we pass on the praise to our spiritual master. That whatever good is there in us is all because of the mercy of our spiritual master. That was the humility of Prithu Maharaj. And Prithu Maharaj, this is the conclusion of this particular chapter with this, humility of Prithu Maharaj. And chapter 16 is entitled Praises of King Prithu by the Professional Reciters. So the great sage Maitreya continued that while King Prithu thus spoke, the humility of his nectarian speeches pleased the reciters very much. Then again, they continued to praise the king highly with exalted prayers, as they had been instructed by the great sages. So, this entire chapter is actually talking about all the, there are 27 verses in this chapter 16. It is only talking about the greatness, the qualities, and the transcendental attributes of Maharaj Prithu, the glorifications of Maharaj Prithu by all these, different reciters. Text 2 says, Dear King, you are a direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, and by his causeless mercy you have descended to this earth. And although you have appeared through the body of King Vena, even great orators and speakers like Lord Brahma and other demigods cannot exactly describe the great glorious activities of your lordship. So in this way, in 27 verses of this chapter, Maharaj Prithu and his transcendental attributes are being glorified. Chapter 17, Maharaj Prithu becomes angry at the earth. This is the chapter's title. So Maitreya Rishi continues. He says that after Maharaj Prithu became the king, and the great sages and the brahmanas and all of them, they were very, very happy with when Maharaj Prithu became the king. But what happened is, the citizens, there was a scarcity of food, scarcity of food grains in the kingdom. Suddenly, the citizens became very skinny due to starvation, and therefore they came before the king and informed the king, Prithu, about their actual situation. And they said that, look at us, we are not able, the earth is not giving us any kind of, proper grains. How can we sustain ourselves? What can we do? You are the incarnation of Godhead. Please protect us. Please do something for us. And listening to the appeal of the people of his kingdom, and seeing their condition, Maharaj Prithu was very much angered. And he was so angry that text 14 says that King Prithu, when the earth saw that King Prithu was taking his bow and arrow to kill her, she became very, very afraid and began to tremble. And she then began to flee. And she took the form of a cow. Mother Earth took the form of a cow and she began to run. And she started pleading. She came in front of Maharaj Prithu and she started pleading that, my dear King Prithu, please, don't kill me. Why are you trying to kill me? So text 22 of this chapter, Maharaj Prithu is saying that, my dear earth, you are disobeying my order and my ruling. In the form of a devata, you are accepting your share of the yagyas, but in return, you are not producing sufficient food grains. For this reason, I will kill you. So Maharaj Prithu was very much angered that why is Mother Earth doing this? Why is she not giving, even though yagya is being performed, but still why is she not giving food grains? So listening to this angry words of Maharaj Prithu, she became very much, she was trembling in fear, and she thus surrendered to Maharaj Prithu, and she actually told Maharaj Prithu, the conclusion of this chapter 17 is that she takes shelter of Maharaj Prithu and says that, you have actually protected me. You are the Supreme Lord. You have protected me in your previous incarnation as Varahadev. When I was sinking in the ocean, you came and you protected me. And now you only want to kill me. Why do you want to kill me like this? Please, you should not kill me. Rather, you should protect me. So this concludes chapter 17. It's very, mind-boggling that why is Mother Earth not giving any proper resources to the people? And she explains why she does that. in this next chapter, chapter 18, which is entitled Prithu Maharaj Milks the Earth Planet. So, text 1, it is said, Maitreya Rishi is saying, My dear Vidura, at the time after the earth planet finished her prayers, King Prithu was still not pacified and his lips was trembling in anger. And although the planet Earth was very much frightened, she, decided to give her reasoning that why is she doing what she is doing in order to convince Maharaj Prithu. And she said, My dear king, the seeds, roots, herbs, and grains which were created by Lord Brahma in the past are now being used by non-devotees who are devoid of all spiritual understanding. This was the reason that the people were exploiting Mother Earth unnecessarily. And they were eating her food grains without first offering it as a sacrifice to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Mother Earth was depleting in her resources. And she said in text 7, she continues to say that, My dear king, not only are the grains and herbs being used by non-devotees, but as far as I am concerned, I am not being properly maintained. Mother Earth is saying this. She's saying that indeed I am being neglected by the kings who are not punishing these rascals who have turned into thieves by using grains for their own sense gratification. So consequently, I have also hidden all the seeds, all the herbs, all the grains. I have hidden them because I am not able to reciprocate. With their violent acts, I'm not able to reciprocate with that. So listening to these words of Mother Earth, King Prithu then understood her reason. And he said that, okay, now I am king. I have come here to protect you. Now, if I bring the right people, will you give them what they want? Mother Earth immediately suggested to King Prithu that you bring a calf from the various species of life. So I will affectionately pour my milk for that section of living entities. You see, we should understand that Mother Earth had taken the form of a cow. So what happens now is something not short of a miracle. What Prithu Maharaj did, according to the suggestion given by Mother Earth in the form of a cow, is that she said that from every living entity you bring a calf and I will give them the resources that they want. So, this is what Mother Earth suggested. And listening to this, King Prithu was very, very happy and satisfied, and he transformed Swayambhuva Manu, who is the father of mankind. So Swayambhuva Manu, he transformed into a calf. Maharaj Prithu did this. And he milked all the herbs and the grains in the form of the cow from Mother Earth and kept them in his cupped hands so that he could distribute to all the people of the earth. Later, the great sages, they transformed Brihaspati, the chief of the sages, into a calf so that all Vedic knowledge got transferred from Mother Earth to this calf in the form of Brihaspati. The Devatas, all the demigods, they made Indra, the king of the Devatas, into a calf, and they milked out Somaras or nectar from Mother Earth. The sons of Diti and the demons, they transformed Prahlad Maharaj into a calf, and they extracted various kinds of liquor and beer. These are exact translations from this particular chapter. The Gandharva Loka and the Apsara Loka, they made Vishvavasu into a calf, and they milked sweet musical art and beauty. You see, all this is the treasure of Mother Earth. We can see that not only the living entities from mankind, but even the Devatas, they are also milking this Mother Earth. So now we can understand the glory of Mother Earth. Pitriloka, who would preside over the funeral ceremonies. They made Aryama into a calf, and they milked kavya, which is a food that is offered to the ancestors. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka and the inhabitants of Vidyadhara Lokas, they transformed the great sage Kapila into a calf. And making the entire sky as a pot, they milked out specific yogic mystic powers like Anima, Laghima, Prapti, all the 8 mystic siddhis, they milked through Kapila Rishi, who was transformed into a calf. The cobras, snakes with hoods, large snakes, the scorpions, any kind of slithering, reptiles, all these poisonous animals, they took the poison out of the planet Earth, and they kept the poison stored in their snake holes. And they made a calf. Guess who? Takshaka. Takshaka was made the calf for taking out the poison from the cobras and the snakes, from these living entities. The 4-legged animals like the cows, they made a calf out of the bull, and they got all the green grass to eat. Ferocious animals like tigers, they transformed a lion into a calf, and they were able to get flesh for milk. The birds made a calf out of Garuda, and they took milk from the planet Earth in the form of moving insects and non-moving plants and grasses. The trees made a calf out of the banyan tree, and they derived milk in the form of delicious juices and fruits that the trees would give out. The mountains, they transformed the great Himalayas into a calf, and they milked variety of minerals that are found in the mountains. So the planet Earth actually supplied everyone their respective food. During the time of King Prithu, the earth was fully under the control of King Prithu. Thus, all the inhabitants of the earth could get their food supply by creating various types of calves and putting their particular types of milk. You see, this is how an able king is actually able to rule. Such beautifully, nobody other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead can ever think of doing such a thing. Mother Earth as a cow, and all the living entities, they transformed one of their entities into a calf to milk their certain kind of food. Who can think of such a thing other than Krishna himself? So in this way, it is said that text 28 of this chapter says that King Prithu was very satisfied with Mother Earth, and he actually developed a very sweet affection towards Mother Earth and considered Mother Earth as his own daughter, it is said. And text 31 and 32 gives the reason why King Prithu is called as the original king, the first king. It is because under the supervision and direction of Maharaj Prithu, text 31 says that the king founded many types of villages, settlements and towns, and built forts, residences, stables for the animals, places for the royal camps, mining places, agricultural towns, and mountain villages. Text 32, the last verse of this chapter says, before the reign of King Prithu, there was no planned arrangement for different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, etc. Everything was scattered, and everyone constructed their residential quarters according to their own convenience. However, from the time of Maharaj Prithu, plans were made for towns and villages. So the origin of towns and villages came from Maharaj Prithu. That is why he is called as the first king. Because the other kings, they just had their own kingdoms, or based on their own convenience, they just did their own settlements. But as the whole entire earth being divided into settlements, into towns and villages, So that this prediction of Lord Chaitanya, that Prithibite ache joto nagor adi gram, sharvatra prachar hoibe mor naam, that in every town and village my name will be chanted. This statement of Lord Chaitanya was possible because of Maharaj Prithu, because he is the one who created the first town and village. So with this, we conclude chapter 18. From tomorrow, we will listen to some of the other glories of Maharaj Prithu. Very, very important verses, chapters are coming up. So please stay tuned for tomorrow for the further glorification of Maharaj Prithu. So with this, we will conclude today's session. If there's any questions, comments, or reflections, please share with us. If not, we will have the quiz for today. But if there is any questions, we can take that now. Okay, just waiting on the quiz. And if there is any questions, please let us know. Okay, the quiz is, we have 9 questions today. The quiz for today is, what were the names of the father and mother of King Vena? The second question is, who killed King Vena? Third question, how did Sunita preserve her son's body? Question 4 is, who was born from which part of the dead body of King Vena? Okay. The fifth question is, who were born from the arms of King Vena? Sixth, what did Vishnu gift King Prithu? Seventh, why did Mother Earth stop providing her resources during King Prithu's reign? Eighth question, why is Maharaj Prithu called the first king? Ninth question, who was made into calf by snakes, trees, Gandharvas, Daityas, Devatas, and the Rishis? So this is your question for today's session. I think there is a question by Radhika Devi. Why is Prithu Maharaj considered as the representative for Archanam in Navavidha Bhakti? Yes, that we will understand in the coming chapters tomorrow, that why Maharaj Prithu is, glorified as, how he perfected his life by performing Archana to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he is a plenary expansion of the Lord himself, but nonetheless, just like how Vyasadeva, he is also a plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord himself. But he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, the entire glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. So similarly, Prithu Maharaj, what he did and why did he become the one who perfected his life by performing Archana? We will actually see it in the verses tomorrow, in the chapters tomorrow, and also day after tomorrow. So we will, definitely touch upon that, because he actually perfected his life by teaching not only he himself, but he also engaged the people of his kingdom to, offer worship to the Supreme Lord by the way of his deity worship, by his archana. So that we will talk in detail tomorrow and day after. Premalata, Hare Krishna. Any information about Bahuka who came out of the thighs of King Vena? Yes, I tried to find out about that. Srila Prabhupada, he actually concludes the chapter where it's talking about Bahuka. There's just 2 verses that he was called as Naishada. He was the king of the Naishadas, it is said, or the Nishadas. So I tried to find out whether this is the same Nishad, who we see in the Ramayana, but Srila Prabhupada never mentions that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But there's no further mention, at least as of now, there is no mention of what happened to the reign or the descendants of Bahuka. But he was definitely called as Nishadraj. So, Shamala Gopika, yes. These pastimes happened. Okay, your question is these pastimes happened in which yuga? Shamala Gopika's question is these pastimes of Maharaj Vena and Prithu Maharaj, all of this happened in which yuga? So that is not directly mentioned, whether it happened in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga. Definitely not Dwapar Yuga. It could be either Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga. But it's not specifically mentioned that which yuga these pastimes actually took place. So thank you for your question. Um, Thanks for mentioning the number. Refer later. Okay, we have been able to. Prajwani, you have a question that why have we been sent to Bhuloka to enjoy instead of the higher planetary systems? Well, if we want to, the result of our pious activities is that we get elevated to the higher planetary systems. And, once the the results of our pious activities are over, then we come down to Bhuloka, it is said. So, Krine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti, that we come down to Bhuloka as soon as the activities of our pious activities are absolved, we come down to Bhuloka based on the actions, based on our karmas, then we take a suitable body. So, why we are sent here? This place is not, we are placed in an illusion, we are in an illusion to think that we are going to be happy, that we are going to enjoy. But this place is dukhalayam ashasvatam, that this is a place of misery, and it is a place of it's temporary. It's dukhalayam ashasvatam. It's a place of misery. It's not a place for us to enjoy, for sure. We are in the illusion that we can enjoy this particular in this particular place. It's an illusion. So we did find some reference, Shamala Gopika, to your question that Maharaj Prithu's pastime did take place in Satya Yuga. So, not specifically in the Srimad Bhagavatam this is mentioned, but in another place we just found that Prithu Maharaj's Leela took place in the Satya Yuga. So, hope that answers your question. Any other questions we have? All right. So if not, we will look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow again. We thank each and every one of you for your enthusiastic participation. And we're very grateful to all of you for your online association. Please continue to shower your mercy and give us your association. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Vartaman Guru Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.